All right. Welcome to Persistence Playbook, Darryll Stinson.
Hey, hey, hey.
All right. Thank you for being here, my friend. I'm excited about this one. I've been following your stuff for a while, and I think we'll just jump right in. And I want to talk about, your journey, right? That because it really was a transformative journey. Can you share the story of how you transitioned from a Division I athlete to becoming a sought after keynote speaker and author?
Oh man, it's like one step at a time, right? Like I know that doesn't sound like very inspiring, but that's what it was for me, just one
Sure.
step at a time.
I'm inspired. I'm inspired by that. Come on.
And the other thing is I think there was always a realization for me that this, like where I am today, if you will, was available where I am in this moment.
Mhm.
And what I mean by that is, 12 years ago, when the thought of being on stages with people I admired,
Magic Johnson. Hello.
I know, and the thought of my talk being watched by 2 million people across the world, or
Congratulations on
the
that, by the
thought
way.
that I would speak at corporate is hilarious. If you knew other versions of myself who I
Sure.
thought I had to be because I was afraid to be myself. So, man, I think that's important because a lot of times the things that we envision for our future don't seem possible in our today, but that couldn't be farther from the truth. What we envision for tomorrow, what we envision for our future is connected to who we are and what we do and how we show up today.
No, I love it. I think that's totally true. And
You know what I mean?
for sure,
Yeah.
100%. And I guess I'm just kind of curious, you know, how long did you have this dream in your heart of being a thought leader, of being a speaker, of motivating and inspiring people to live better lives? And how long did it take you to actually, take action on this
Yeah.
dream?
Okay. I was 9 years old when I first had
Okay.
this
So a
vision.
while ago. Got it.
Yeah, but I was 9 year old when I had this vision. I was in a
Mhm.
church and I saw myself in front of a sea of people, and I knew, I got the impression, the hunch. I thought God was speaking to me that like I was called to this greatness, to this impact. And on top of that, I just always felt it somehow in my life. I felt like that as a kid. I just had this sense. I didn't know how to articulate it like that then, but looking back, I always kind of knew that. I was just really afraid. It was like people weren't really trying to have deep conversations when you're 9, 10, 11, and 12, at least not where I was from. Um,
No, definitely not. I was just trying to
yeah.
trade, baseball cards when I
And
was
it didn't
9,
make me
10, 11,
cool.
12.
It made me popular. So you get that. That's just not what we were thinking about at that age. It was like, oh, like nobody was really trying to do that. And again, that could have been me and who I was surrounding myself with. But the people in my neighbors, my particular classmates, my friend group. That's not the conversation we were in at all. Not even my teachers. My teachers were trying to get me to pay attention and learn Spanish.
Spanish, by the way, was never my top class. I've got to admit, I was
Yeah.
always the guy who was like just barely, dragging his body across the finish line in Spanish. But anyway, that's
And,
not the point.
let me be clear. Like I wish I knew Spanish now today. Like
Mhm.
I didn't mean to laugh. Like that's a. No, I wish I was bilingual or trilingual. I wish people that speak multiple languages. I admire them.
I
And
agree. I totally agree.
yeah, yeah,
Right. We're not saying it wasn't worth it. We're just saying we wish we focused more on it.
yeah. Or that at that time I wasn't. That wasn't part of what was most pressing for me to do. What was most pressing for me to do is like figure out, yo, what do you actually want to do and do that? Like, why are you not writing? Why are you not leading some of these student, leadership groups within your schools? And so, wherever a person is, if you think about in this moment, okay, what is it that I envision for my future? Okay, I want to write a book. Okay, I want to be on stages. Okay, I want to speak on TED. Okay, I want to, have, this particular thing in my life. Okay, cool. you reverse engineer that, and you come to today. You just go, okay, where is that feeling like in my life today? What can I do to feel safe, to feel secure, to feel connected, to feel powerful, to feel heard? A lot of times, the reason why people want to speak on bigger stages is because they're looking to be heard on a bigger level. It's like, I know my grandma understands me or my wife understands me, but I want the world to get how important fill in the blank is to me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it
Am
certainly
I like too
does.
pie in the sky right now?
No, I think, we like going a little pie in the sky. We like mixing it up in the weeds and the dirt, and we like chatting in between, so that nothing is out of bounds here on Persistence Playbook. I think it's all very useful, and I think I kind of want to talk a little bit about purpose, right? And I think this is something that you help people with, and for a lot of people listening, they may want to make that tremendous impact, but they may not have perfect clarity on exactly what that impact looks like. And for someone who may be listening, who's struggling to find that purpose, where do you recommend they begin?
Look into what captures their attention. What do they pay attention to and why? It's in everything. The social media, like if someone's stuck on social media, instead of like trying to argue with them, be like, hey, what are you interested in and why? Why is that captivating to you? And it's going to seem disconnected because they're watching this channel with memes and this comedian and this entertainer and this friend. But inevitably, when we get into why they're listening, it's like they're trying to understand themselves and why they're here. It's like there's a way that somebody's telling their story or showing up or articulating their thoughts that inside of someone's self, they're looking to emulate those behaviors, those contributions, that way of beingness in the world, that humor, that clearness, that amount of wealth, that amount of fill in the blank. And so when we really start paying attention to what captures our attention and taking note of that and getting curious as to why, that's when we start to see, well, oh, because I'm really looking to, if I was to say, wake myself up from the matrix, someone might say that, or I'm just looking to like figure out what's in my heart to do. Like I want to do something that I'm passionate about. And part of how I explore that is I see what's capturing my attention because somewhere in there, I'm trying to solve a puzzle for something I want to do in my life. And then you'll start to see like, oh, that exists in writing, or that exists in the trades if I got skills with my hands. So if whatever captures your attention, if you just double down and triple down on developing that, exploring that, deepening that, man, to me, that's how you find your gifts. That's how you find what captivates you in this world, and that's how you really figure out, because you're so involved in it, you're going to be better than most people in that conversation. And in today's economy, there's always a way to, trade, to educate, to turn it into a way to, make a living. That's the good thing about, the world we live in today and the technology that we have. And so not everyone has to be a coach, but there's so many economic opportunities when you're in a lane of brilliance or have a skill that you perfected because you paid attention to it long enough to develop it.
I love that term, lane of brilliance. That's pretty powerful stuff, and I agree. Right, pay attention to what you pay attention to. Right, like what catches your attention on a regular basis. Look back at maybe some of the books you've read over the last few years. Which were the ones that really captivated you? Maybe which were the ones that maybe you reread once or twice. That'll kind of give you some clues towards where your lane of genius is, because for you to become great at anything, for you to become a thought leader or an expert in any field, you've got to be innately interested in that subject. You can't force it. It's got to be something that innately calls out to you. And I think by looking towards your past, the things that have fascinated you, kind of like you said, notice what gets your attention. That is going to give you the compass towards where your passion truly lies.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Yes,
So,
sir.
so I want to talk a little mental health, right? This is a big part of your brand and what you teach and what you stand for. And I guess I want to start with like your story within mental health. And I'm just kind of curious, what was your turning point in your mental health journey, and how did it shape your current mission today?
Yeah, man. So my turning point in my mental health journey was essentially, I was wrestling with the fact that I was a Division 1 athlete and I was playing sports, and I thought I was going to be a professional athlete because I felt I was good enough. I told I was being good enough. I was playing against people who were going to the NFL, and I got hurt. I had to have back surgery, and that basically, to make a long story shortened, is that it just ended my opportunity. Right, I
Sure.
was just too injured to be healthy enough to play. And when I really came to like, I can't try anymore. I'm just not in condition. There's not another year left. I don't have another drug left. I was taking
Right.
opioids.
Okay.
You know, it was emotionally challenging for me because I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. I don't feel like I'm good at anything else. I didn't develop anything else because even though I had this vision when I was 9, 10, and 11, nobody was having these conversations. And so then I tried to fit in with everybody, and I turned into a drug dealer, a person who was just running the streets, cheating on tests. I wasn't really like developing my intellect or using my gifts. I was just like being a really good athlete and messing around and in the after hours. And so after I could no longer continue to do that with sports and get praised for it, it's like I had to really figure out like what I'm gonna do. Am I just gonna work like at McDonald's for the rest of my life, or am I gonna like build a career? And if so, am I gonna sit behind a corporate desk and just like? And again, nothing wrong with that, but for me,
Right.
it's like no way. And so like it's like so. what- Funny story, real quick. After I kind of got to the turning point, I did end up working at a carpet cleaning company
Okay.
because it was just like, I had to figure out what to do. I wasn't going to go to a cubicle.
Hey, bills got to be paid while we're
I know,
figuring it out.
I know, and it was good. They paid me well.
There you
I
go.
got a good workout in. It was good for me.
Yeah, carpet's got to
Uh,
be cleaned.
so, anyways, I got kicked off the team for my opioid abuse. I didn't have an outlet. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was, you know, lost and hopeless, and I felt helpless. And the truth is, I didn't know how to communicate my emotions or say that I was depressed, but I was. And ultimately, man, I attempted suicide. I ended up in a psychiatric care facility. It was there I found faith. I found mental health practices. I talked to my first counselor, saw my first psychiatrist, did my first mindfulness exercise. And I just started to learn there was this different way to live life, a different way that I say when I speak on corporate stages to have what is called sustainable high performance, that I could still have high levels of success like I had as an athlete, but have deep levels of connection and emotional clarity if I had self care processes. I had a system of success. I didn't have a system of self care. Here's why I pause and ask everyone, do you have a system of self care? Most high performers I know have a system of success. We'll tell you our disciplines, what time we wake up, and we'll even tell you that we have self care practices like a massage or this or that. But when self care becomes a system, just like high performance that can be measured by for particular outcomes, when you actually do emotions because you want emotional clarity, as an example, instead of just relaxing. And relaxing is good. I'm just talking about having a system of self care that is informative and expanses and actually helps us to have higher levels of performance. This is why you see LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Dwayne Wade, many increasing athletes in all types of sports that are now meditating, taking mental health breaks, figuring out their name, image, and likeness, which is identity, purpose, and somehow that makes them a better athlete. Why? Because it's the congruence of all of those things in all those areas that fuels their discipline to be a great athlete or be great at whatever they do. That's why they have endorsements and commercials and all this stuff. Same is true for each individual. We might not have commercials and all this, but we have a reward, a outcome, a new life that's on the other side of being disciplined in our passions and our skills and what we find for ourselves to do. So for me, I took that system of self-care, I've combined it with the disciplines of success, and man, with the kind of like following of my spiritual feeling, like I was supposed to write, teach, and lead. And one thing led to another. That led to the book. That led to the stages. That led to the this. And so that's what I mean. One step at a time, but in alignment with who you are.
Yeah, and I think self-care is something that can easily get thrown aside when you've got big goals and you feel like you're falling behind and you feel like, well, maybe I don't have time to meditate today, or I don't have time for that 20-minute Peloton session. I don't have time to journal. Whatever it is for you that is that self-care system. I think what we have to realize is that these things fill us up. They fill our cup and they allow us to give our full selves to the marketplace. And if we're not doing these things on a regular basis that fill up our soul, then we're just not going to be able to show up as powerfully as we possibly can. Now, for you, what does that self-care system look like on a daily basis? Is it meditation? Is it cold plunge? Is it hyperbolic chamber? Like, what is Darryll Stinson? Like, what is what is Darryll Stinson doing? Tell me about the self-care system in
Yeah.
detail.
Yeah. C, conscious awareness. It's a practice of becoming more consciously aware of how my subconscious beliefs are impacting how I show up in life. Okay. So you ever hear the quote, we don't see the world as it is, we see the world as we are.
Mm-hmm.
There's a level of our life experience that is only happening because of the meaning that we bring to the experience. It's why you can have two people that get in a car accident. One person's like not freaking out about it. The other, they're grateful they're alive. The other person's so angry that they want to actually kill the other person. Why be mad that you hit a person and could have almost killed them and then want to kill them? it's, just, it's like, oh, whoa, what's happening in our life is a byproduct of how we feel about ourselves, how we relate to ourselves. So that's what conscious awareness of. And just to be clear and practical about that, is like woo woo as that may sound to some folks, it's like there's a simple discipline that I say to do is like, you know, in finances, we do financial accounting. In order to get clear on how we improve our financial future, we have to get clear on how we're stewarding our finances today. So we have categories that we categorize expenses. The same is possible with emotions. If you were to do emotional accounting and take all these register emotions you are feeling throughout the course of a 24-hour period, and you were to put them into categories, it would start to create clarity on where you can begin improvements.
Yeah.
That's a practical thing that emotional accounting helps to increase one's conscious awareness. Okay, so that's part of the C of the care system. I'll
I'm
pause and let you ask the C.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I agree. I think it's certainly important to kind of add that layer of consciousness and be aware of your thoughts. Be aware of the emotions that you're experiencing
yes,
on a daily basis, and just realize that as human beings, we are most of the time going to lean towards a negative mindset just naturally. Our mind does that in a lot of cases, basically just to help us survive, but if we can notice those negative thoughts and then counteract them with positive thoughts, speaking to us ourselves in a compassionate way, I think that we can just really evolve into our best selves through compassionate self-talk, right? Replace that negative self-talk that says, you're not good enough. Who are you to be teaching on this subject? And notice that, and then counteract it and be like, you know what, Brett, I'm proud of you. You are doing the best you can, and you are absolutely in a position to help others with what you know right now. And just try and make it a habit of speaking to yourself in that type of way. And if you do that on a daily basis, be your own hype man, so to speak,
hmm
you'll start to see your impact and your greatness come to the surface on a much more regular basis.
yeah, 100%.
And I think
I
we
call
struggle
that
with that.
emotional progress.
Love it. I think that's a
Emotional
really good term for it.
progress and emotional clarity and healing are two different things.
Can we talk vulnerability for a little bit? This
This
is
is vulnerability.
I know we're talking already, but and I know, but I guess that's a good point. We're already kind of on it.
Yeah.
But just to go deeper within
Okay.
that vulnerability conversation,
Yes.
how did embracing vulnerability change your life and your
Oh,
and your career?
okay. The word vulnerable means to be open. So anywhere I was becoming more vulnerable in my life, I was becoming more open. Specifically, in my marriage, there's lots of times where I would just argue, blow up, walk out the house, not explain, not want to talk, just want to blow off steam. Nothing wrong with that, but it was destructive when it was daily or consistently more times than what we were having the positive moments. And a big part of that was because I didn't really know how to be vulnerable and articulate that I was hurt in the relationship. It was like I only knew how to be angry. And so I would just get mad instead of be like, that was kind of hurtful that, you didn't give me more of a reaction when I came in the house. It was like that sounded so weak, so wimpy. But at the same time, when I was on stages and I'm trying to tell people, you can change your life, you can believe in your future and start today, and all is possible. And it was like nobody was really caring because it was like they wanted to know, man, how did you go from not wanting to live to finding a dream? And it was like that was requiring me to go back and talk about when I didn't want to live and I didn't want to think or feel that. I wanted to just like pretend that chapter in my life never happened. Like I was just 9 years old and I was enlightened and I've been a brilliant genius since then.
Right, but people got to hear that story if they're really going to connect with you.
Yeah, but I didn't want to share that. I still kind of don't like sharing it. It's
Mhm.
like vulnerability. But it was like that was the glue. That was the thing that was creating the connection. That was where people felt they could relate to me instead of like I was inflating my ego. That's where they felt like they could change their lives too because they didn't feel so different than me. That's where I say, the day I went from stop talking to me like that to my wife and went, man, that's hurtful. Like, like, man, that triggered me. Like, that changed our relationship. That changed my connection on stage. That changed everyone who was trying to listen to what I was having to say. So everybody was winning. And it was like, yo, vulnerability really is a superpower. And it really is strength. And it really is courageous. And it's not just a buzzword or a gimmick. It can be that. And we know those people. But when it's real and it's authentic and you can feel it, it's one of the most powerful things in the world. And so I wasn't just speaking more vulnerably, I was living more vulnerably. And it was transforming the amount of connection I had on stage and in my life.
I completely agree. I think that, but just by us opening up and talking about some things in our life that are maybe not going so great right now, or maybe in the past didn't go the way that we wanted them to, gets people to kind of lean forward in their chair a little bit.
Yeah.
It gets them to open up their heart, and that they realize, okay, this person is not that much different than me. And maybe he's up on that stage right now talking to thousands of people, but it wasn't always that way. And I think people need to know that. And they need to feel a similarity to you if they're going to be led by you, if they're going to be moved by you, if they're going to change their behavior based on what you're saying. And I think so many aspiring thought leaders skip that vulnerability step and they wonder why nobody is connecting with their message, because that vulnerability step is one you can't step, one you cannot skip. It is a necessary step towards leading people towards a better outcome. You need to first be vulnerable.
Yes. Yes. 100%. 100%, man. I
So,
love it, bro.
So I want to talk a little storytelling, because I know you
Okay.
are, because you're a master storyteller. You teach others how to
Yes.
craft stories.
Yes.
It's a big part
Well,
of who
can,
you
can I
are.
can I jump in real quick because I do have ADHD and sometimes I don't complete thoughts. Give me like 60 seconds to close that train of thought because system of self-care is the train we got on.
Hmm.
I talked about C being conscious awareness. A, that's part of the system. So that whole thing is not the entirety of the system. That is the foundation, if you will. Okay. Then there's activities. That's the A. Activities is about learning how to shift your body, use your body and movement in order to shift your energy and how you feel. So in high performance, this would be like getting yourself into a powerful state to perform well, whether that's high energy at a football game or whether that's centeredness in a golf game. It's still the ability to move your body and connect with your body in a way that brings it to the state that you desire. Are you with me?
I'm with
Okay.
you.
On the self-care side, this is like getting out of anxiety triggers and overwhelm and dealing with burnout and all this stuff is just like taking deep breaths, stabilizing, neutralizing the body. Okay. Same thing, different seasons of life, different environments. Okay. That's activities. That's the A of the system. R is relationships. There's three areas that I cover. There's four that I'm working on. Relationships with yourself, with others, and with food. The one that I'm working on is also with money. When you view these things through the relational approach and you steward them like you do finances, it shapes different things. So conscious awareness, activities, moving the body in order to shift states, relationships, stewarding them so that they reflect the quality that brings you happiness and joy and peace and all those good things. And then the last thing is expression. This is our purpose, giving voice to our vision, our talents, our beliefs, feeling heard, feeling connected, and contributing to the world. Okay. So that's the full system. Being in those awareness, monitoring those vitals daily by daily, moment by moment, okay, is the full self care system and kind of what I do to have a system of self care along with high performance success.
Well,
Okay.
I appreciate you kind of rewinding us a little bit
Yeah.
there and making us finish that system, because I
Yes.
think that is really just a useful way to go about
Yeah.
self care, is to keep those four quadrants
Yeah.
in mind on a daily basis.
Yes.
So, as far as storytelling goes, and
Yeah.
I think you're a phenomenal storyteller. I've seen you tell stories on stage. It's obviously
Hmm.
something that you thrive in. I believe it's probably a natural skill of yours. When you're telling when you're telling a story,
Yeah.
where do you go mentally? Are you just trying to connect with
Ooh, good question.
are you just trying to connect with that story as vividly as possible in your mind?
Yes.
Tell me about your storytelling
That's
process.
it. That's it. That's a big thing. It's a simple thing, but it's a big thing. I am trying to connect to that story in my mind because otherwise I'm talking about it instead of letting it talk.
Oh, that's ooh, drop the mic. That is fire right there, Darryl.
Yeah,
That's
it
good. That's
was.
good. So
It
tell me about
was.
that. So you're just
It
trying to
was.
kind of relive that moment in your mind and
It
let
was.
it kind of come out
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
organically.
yeah, yeah. So think about it this way. Think about if like I was telling a story about you and I in this podcast, but think if I was telling your story for you and you were in the room.
Mhm.
It'd be like, why am I talking about you instead of letting you talk?
Right.
And so in your story, it's another version of yourself. It's actually another human being. You're not the same person you used to be. Yes, you kind of are, but you're really not. Okay? You're I promise you, you're not a
Right.
toddler. You
Right.
might act like
We
it
have evolved.
sometimes.
We have evolved. I mean,
You know?
I am a big ball. I am a bald guy, so I probably look like a big baby sometimes. But
I get that. I love joy. I have four kids, man, and they're all
love it.
11 and younger, so it's all good.
I love it.
Okay, where were we at again?
Storytelling,
Yeah,
going
yeah, yeah,
there,
yeah. Okay,
letting the
so
story
when you're
talk.
telling a story that's about a past experience in your life, which is what all stories are, okay, it's like letting that person tell the story.
Yeah, I love it.
Too many times we talk about it and we try to have all these conclusions, and it's like, no, no, no. What would that person say? That person didn't say, "Oh, I did this because I was this, and I really didn't know this." Because that person would be like, "I was scared. I didn't have the answers. I didn't know where to look. I didn't know where to turn. I was worried. I was excited. I thought I could. I learned I can't." And it's like we're not allowing that person to speak. We're speaking about that person, and so that's a big way that I'll tell a story in a more vulnerable way that still contains its structure and its lessons and its principles, which is ultimately the ultimate lens of a story. It's like, I remember Les Brown taught me, like, never tell a story without making a point and never make a point without telling a story. And
Less.
so yeah, I know Les.
Less.
I know he's beastie.
Beast.
But it was good, man. It was such a good reminder because sometimes I would tell these long stories now, and it would be like my wife is the best one. She'd be like, "How did that connect with what you had to say?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I
Right.
forgot the point to my story." And so the other part of storytelling is while I'm letting that person speak, kind of keeping in mind of what's the point.
Right. Right.
Okay, and then that kind of makes a really tight, vulnerable story. Man, yeah, that's nifty.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. We're not talking about the story; we're letting the story
Yeah,
speak. But while you're letting that story speak, kind of know what the point is from the beginning. Like,
yeah,
what is the point of the story, and
yeah.
kind of try and not get too far from that through line, but but
Yes,
but see that story as vividly as you can in your
yes,
minds. Try to recount those details, and try and disconnect yourself as much as you can
yeah,
from the reaction, I think, of the crowd. Even if it's like a small dinner table, if it's just two or three people and you're telling a story, just try to connect with that story for the joy of being there again yourself. And if you just get there as much as you can in your own mind and you're enjoying being there, then your audience is also going to enjoy it. But if you're just trying to recount the details and talk about this story so that everyone likes it, then people are going to feel that, and they're going to feel you're not enjoying the experience, and in tow, they're also not going to enjoy the experience.
yes, yes.
So I want to talk a little bit about adapting to change, and this is something that you're so familiar with. And like you said, you were Division One athletes, and went through a bit of a dark period there, and then you resurrected your career, and now you're a sought after speaker, author. And just curious, what advice would you give to people that are currently facing major life transitions, whether it's athletes leaving sports or professionals changing careers?
If we're talking about career change, then I mean, my first book is all on that. Who am I after sports? It was like that phases of transition. I don't even know if I can remember off the top of my head. I think it's like accept, discover, pursue, persist, or something. I don't know. It's 5 phases in that book that outlines seasons of transition. But ultimately, a big part of it is still finding the gratitude, the light, the opportunities, the next best steps of today. Like, man, I did I don't I make this joke sometimes from stage. I don't know how it lands, but I'll say from stage all the time. I say, man, one of these days I'm going to come up here for my keynote speech, and I'm going to say, hey, take out a piece of paper, write on a list all the things that you know to do that potentially could improve your life, and then people would write, 20 things, 50 things, 100 things, whatever, and it'd be like, okay, go do them.
Right.
And I was just going to walk off stage.
There's your speech. I know you were expecting a 90-minute keynote, but we're going to keep it short today because I got a flight
I
to
want to
catch.
do that so bad. I want to do that so bad because, oh man, I'm going to get off on a tangent if I don't stop.
It's okay. We can appreciate the occasional tangent here on Persistence Playbook. Don't
No,
worry
no,
about
no,
it.
I don't want to do that. I do that too much. The point is the season of transition. There's a point of it where you have to like just move it forward, man. Like get really, really crystal clear on what's up. What do I know to do that I can do today?
Love it.
That's
I,
it. And start doing that. And again, there's going to be like, what if it doesn't work in this? And it's just cry it out. That's the other thing.
take action, cry it out, baby.
Take action and cry it out. Like, cry it out. Cry it out. Like, talk, vent, exercise. Like, it's not, I'm not saying it's going to be all like, ooh, yay. Like, the positive music starts to overplay. I'm saying it's going to get ugly. It's going to get dark. You're going to have to crawl on your knees. Like you're going to have to get muddy. Like you're going to literally, like you're going to. I remember one time I thought I was just like I thought, man, everybody knows my message. I got 250,000 views, man.
Right. Let's go.
I'm a TEDx speaker, and and I came to this event. They said it was going to be like 250 students there or something, which I thought that was that's not true. It was probably like 500. I'm making up the numbers right now, but
Yeah.
they said there was going to be like 500 students. All I know is I came and it was about It was about 35.
35. Sounds about right in the beginning of a speaking journey.
Man, and that was like, what am I doing this for the thousands, or am I doing this to be helpful?
Right. Right. Am I doing this for the likes? Am I
Yeah,
doing this for the notoriety? Or
yeah, yeah, yeah,
am
yeah,
I
yeah.
actually here to impact human lives?
And so that again, I'm talking about my path, but in somebody else's path is going to be whatever you're doing. Like, am I here because this is ultimately where I feel like is my best opportunity right now in the world, or am I just too lazy to go back to school?
Right. Right.
Like,
And
what do I know to do? Self honesty and self assessment. What do I know to do that I'm not doing? Like, I look myself in the mirror, eye to eye, nobody else's opinion, me and myself and I. That's where the real power of the transition starts. Is when I say, "Hey, what do I know to do that I'm unwilling to do because I'm just saying that I miss the old. I miss the old. I can't transition. That's all. It's I miss the old. And I'm not being insensitive to that path. Again, I was suicidal. It's in the book, but I'm just trying to solve it quickly for somebody listening to this audio clip. Because technically, what I would really tell people to do is follow the 5 phases that's in my book.
I kind of like what you said there about like any transition, especially career wise. If you're starting something new, for a little bit there, it's going to feel like you're crawling through the mud. It just is. I mean, pretty much anything worthwhile in this life that we want to do
Yeah.
is gonna take longer than we expect it to take. It's gonna
Yeah.
take 2 to 3 times longer to get on that stage that we want to get on and speak. It's gonna take 2 to 3 times longer to build that podcast audience that we want to build. And I think just recognizing that from the beginning, this is going to be a fight, and it's probably going to take a lot longer than I anticipate it taking.
Mhm.
Can help us to stay in that fight long enough to actually fulfill our potential. And I think that crawling through the mud analogy is just so true of any new pursuit, especially a new entrepreneurial or a new career pursuit, because sometimes it is just going to feel like you're walking through quicksand, and you just got to figure out a way to keep putting one foot in front of the other.
Yes, and there's a variable called greatness. There's a variable called uh, and I think in Thinking and Grow Rich they call it specialized skill. I like the word gift. There's a variable that if you develop it, it cannot be hidden. Right? Think of it like a singer, like I don't know, Adele. I don't know if you like how she sings, or I don't know who's like your favorite singer of all time.
Oh boy, favorite singer of all time. I don't
That
know.
can really sing.
I don't know if he's not my favorite of all time, but my son's really into the Michael Bublé version
Yo, Michael Bublé.
of Spider-Man right now. So we've been listening to
Okay,
yeah, apparently he sang a Spider-Man theme a long time ago. My son
okay,
can't get enough of it, so we play it like 7 times a day. And I've
I
definitely
get
started to appreciate Michael Bublé's vocal
Michael
skills.
Bublé. Okay, okay, cool. So imagine him like putting videos of lines, singing and stuff, and not getting an opportunity or a deal. It's like it can't happen. So if somebody's like, if it's taking a long time and it's hard and nobody's giving you an opportunity, sometimes it is because you got to get more skilled.
Yeah, right. You're
That's
not
what
good
I mean.
enough.
There is that variable that I would say, because sometimes I hear that from people all the time, and then I get in a conversation and I'm like, dang, I'm gonna have to tell this person it what. And in my line of work, it's speaking and communication. So I'm like, it's not as clear as you think it is. It's like,
For sure.
dang, I don't want to be the one to tell you, but it's like it's all good. It's a good story. But if we're trying to get from good to great, it's like details and tonalities and emphasis and pauses and structures and all that stuff matters.
100%. You were
So
giving a great presentation. It does, and you can relate that to anything, right? And I agree. If you're not where you want to be, it most likely comes down to you're just not good enough right now. You don't have the skills necessary to be on that pedestal. That doesn't mean you're not worthy.
I know.
That just means in this moment
Yep.
you don't have the skills, so you got to go out there and find them.
100%. 100%.
Darryll, this has been fun, man. Thank you
Yep, man.
for being with us today. I mean, where can everyone kind of keep up with you and keep tabs on what you got going on?
Man, Dude, at Stinson Speaks is kind of my social. Reach out, connect. Darryl at DarrylStinson.com. Just Google me. I'm everywhere. That's the technology world we live in today, man. And dude, man, any way I can support people, you already know I'm here. I'm here to help, man. My goal this year is to reach 10 million people online
I
and
believe in you,
reach
Darryl.
10,000 people in person. So I just think it's possible. And again, we can always say if we just reach one, but sometimes I think that's a cop out from us reaching 10,000. Why reach one when we can reach 10? And so, that's kind of why I'm targeting specific numbers. So I don't like get so comfortable that I forget that me reaching another person is another person. So I'm going to stretch to reach as many as I believe I can. That doesn't mean it's better than somebody that's reaching one. My mom is not a speaker, but she impacted me. And that's a great example. All of us doing our best to be our best and give our best is what leads to the world we desire. So that's it, man. Thank you for having me on, brother.
Dude, thank you, Darryl. And everyone out there listening, Persistence Playbook Nation, thank you for being with us today. This is your weekly reminder. You will feel resistance to the important work in your day that you know you should be doing. Acknowledge that resistance, lean into your why, and take action anyway. Well, we'll see you next week, gang.